We've got the Tennessee State Coach Eddie George versus the Jackson State Coach Deion Sanders, Coach Prime. Preview show right here on JeffLightsyJr YouTube. This is going to be a good one, y'all. At least I hope so. Let's talk about it after the bumper. What is up, everybody? What is up, everybody? My name is JeffLightsyJr. here with the Black Boss channel on Victory Formation. Thank you guys for tuning in. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe, and the notification bell because we upload every single day. Now, we're here today to talk about Coach Prime's crew and the JSU Tigers versus Coach Eddie George's crew and the Tennessee State Tigers. Now, this is what I hope to get what I was supposed to get from the Orange Blossom Classic, unless Jackson State just runs them off the field. But hopefully that is not the case because Tennessee State had a really good showing up in Eastern Washington. They went up week 1 and played the Eastern Washington Eagles, the number 12 ranked team in the FCS, and they had a good showing. They lost 36-29 by 1 touchdown. They had a chance to go down and score, but they weren't able to do it. Eastern Washington scored a late fourth quarter touchdown to win that game. But Tennessee State was impressive, at least offensively. Let me say that. Offensively, they were impressive. They have a real player at quarterback, Draylen Ellis. They have a real player at running back. What is his name? I can't think of his name. Mr. Starling, Mr. Devon Starling. Real players at those positions. I mean, Mr. Starling had 200 yards of rushing. Draylen Ellis added another 82 yards on the ground. The young man at running back, Mr. Starling, averaged 8 yards a carry. Yeah, he's the real deal. The only problem was their defense ain't the real deal, and we know JSU can score some points. So let's do a breakdown. So first, I like this matchup in a lot of ways for JSU because the things that I saw Tennessee State struggle with against Eastern Washington, JSU excels at least after 1 week. One of the things that Tennessee State struggled with, they struggled keeping Mr. Gunnar Talkington of Eastern Washington under control. They couldn't get any pass rush, so there was no pressure on the quarterback. He had all day to throw, and he threw for 348 yards and 5 touchdowns. So you mean to tell me they only sacked him 1 time and really, like, that was a coverage sack, and he threw for 350 yards? That's not what you want to hear when you got to play Shedeur Sanders this week. Tennessee State, if they want any chance of winning this game, they are going to have to try to get a pass rush. Their pass rush has to be there. FAMU had no pass rush. Shedeur Sanders had all day to throw thanks to his offensive line and his mobility to maneuver the pocket. And he torched them. 29 completions, 4 incompletions, 5 touchdowns. He will torch you, TSU, if you do not find a way to rush the passer. You got to find a way to get back there. You got to find a way. Like, I don't know if you got to drop some new blitz packages. You got to draw up some new schemes, do something. Because if Shedeur is able to have as much time as Mr. Talkington has had, I can guarantee you he's going to light you up. And he's going to throw for more than 348 yards. He has the weapons, the firepower, the star power on the outside, and they want to light you up through the air. Too many broken coverages. Tennessee State's weakest part just off game 1. Just what I saw in game 1 against Eastern Washington. The secondary wasn't very good. The pass rush wasn't very good. That's not what you need going into playing Shedeur Sanders. That is not what you need when you're going to go play Jackson State. That's just what, like, too many broken coverages for TSU in that game against Eastern Washington. Let's look at the box score. Now, the beautiful thing about TSU is that they have a pretty potent offense. They have a real player at quarterback in Draylen Ellis. They have a real player at running back and Mr. Starling. And Mr. Ellis can get busy. He can get busy out there. When he runs, when he decides to tuck and run, the young man is special. Like, he has some elite athleticism and gets real busy, real nasty out there in the open field. But the weakness on their offense is they gave up too many sacks. That offensive line can get beat up on. Now, they are a great they're a great run blocking offensive line. The pass protection was suspect. It was a little shaky, and that is scary once again going against JSU, who has Antonio Doyle, who looks like a man amongst boys, who has Niles Gaddy, who looks like he's turning it up, and a bunch of other guys that are able to make plays in the backfield. I'm going to show you the box score from TSU's game against Eastern Washington. Don't get me wrong. Eastern Washington is not a soup sandwich of a team. Eastern Washington is ranked in the top 15 of all the FCS. Eastern Washington is a team that is going to fight for an FCS national championship. Eastern Washington is a real team. So it's not like Tennessee State went out there and played a cupcake. And on the road. They were on the road on the red turf against Eastern Washington, and they held their own. The only problems is the problems that I saw from TSU, the glaring weaknesses from their team are like big-time strengths for JSU, meaning their pass protection. That's a weakness. JSU has a really good pass rush. Their secondary, that's a weakness. JSU has really good receivers and an elite quarterback. Those are problems. Their pass rush, their secondary, and their offensive line pass blocking. Those are major weaknesses, at least after 1 week. Now, I'm not saying they can't get it fixed by the time they show up in Memphis for the Southern Heritage Classic. But the chances of them getting it fixed and the chances of them showing that it's fixed against JSU are slim to none. Now, here's what I mean by Mr. Draylen Ellis is a baller. 17 of 27, 257 yards through the air, 2 touchdowns. He did throw an interception, and he also got sacked 4 times. Mr. Devon Starling, 207 yards rushing. 270 yards rushing, a touchdown. Draylen Ellis had a 41-yard run, had 82 yards on 22 carries. So they are a power running team. We're talking about a team that ran the ball 54 times. 54 times. That is something, if they are able to get the ground game going, that is something that could work in their favor. If they are able to get Mr. Starling running. Now, FAMU tried it. FAMU tried to get the running game going. It just didn't work. Then they tried to get the passing game going. It just didn't work. So if TSU are able to offset some of that pass rush from JSU with the mobility of their quarterback, maybe that is something that can work in their favor. But they got to protect Draylen Ellis. They got to protect the money, and he's the money. They got to be able to cover. I saw way too many broken coverages in the game against Eastern Washington. But another thing that's on Tennessee State's side, though, one thing I can't say, they got some playmakers on the outside. Zach Dobson, number 24, Cam White. Those guys are some playmakers out there. We're talking about one took a 67-yard, just a little jet sweep to the crib, broke some tackles to the crib. Another one took a screen pass, 57 yards to the crib. They got some ballers on the outside. And it's going to be interesting to see the matchup between Nugget and Travis Hunter versus these two young men, because these two young men can play. And if you don't tackle, they're going to embarrass you. They break arm tackles. Zach Dobson, number 24, he's good at making folks look silly by not wrapping up. The play that he actually took for 67 yards, he was wrapped up in the damn backfield. But he was able to make a play out of no play. Able to make a play out of no play. Now, do I expect Shedeur Sanders to just go out there and look the way he looked in the Orange Blossom Classic? I mean, it's hard to duplicate that. I mean, the man played a perfect game. All right, let's just call it what it is. The man played a perfect game. 29 of 33, 4 incompletions, over 300 yards passing, 5 touchdowns, more touchdowns 5 than he had incompletions in 4. The young man is special. The young man just went out there and put on a show. Do I expect him to go out and do that every single week? No. But we can probably expect a big day if Tennessee State don't get that secondary together. Because if the young man at Eastern Washington exploited it, and no offense to him, but the chances, they have a really good program. Cooper Kupp came from that program. They have a really good program. But that young man ain't going to be playing on Sundays. More than likely. He's probably not going to be playing on Sundays. Shedeur going to be playing on Sundays. Shedeur is going to be playing on Sundays. And if that same secondary that showed up in Eastern Washington shows up in Memphis for the Southern Heritage Classic, JSU is going to score 40 points. They're going to score 40 to 50 points, and this game could get ugly quick because Tennessee State is a run-heavy team. A lot of run quarterback. The quarterback had 22 carries. Now, some of those were sacks. He had 4 sacks, but at 18 legit carries. The running back had another 20-plus carries. He had 25 carries. They ran the ball 54 times. But you can't run the ball and why they were able to run the ball like this is because this game was close. This was a 36-29 game. Tennessee State was up a lot in this game. If they get behind because of that secondary, it ain't going to be no 54 rushes. That's the problem. That is why Tennessee State, just like they did in this game against Eastern Washington, has to try to start early. Because if they get behind with the way that offensive line looks shaky at times, if they get behind 2 touchdowns, this game could be over before it starts. If they get behind 1 touchdown, because that offensive line and that pass rush of JSU that is only going to continue to get better every single week because they're going to get guys back from injury. They're going to get guys back that didn't make the trip to Miami. Yeah, we noticed there was some guys. We noticed, didn't we? There was some guys that didn't make the trip to Miami. Katron Evans, he didn't make the trip. Malachi Wideman, he didn't make the trip. So as this defense, as this offense, as this team continues to get better, Tennessee State's going to have to get out early and score some points. Because if they get behind 7-0, 10-0, or 14-0, this game could be over quick. We saw JSU make easy work of FAMU when FAMU was down early and all they could do was pass the ball. We saw them make easy work of that. We saw the way they made Musa look like half the player that he looked like against North Carolina. We saw Rashawn McKay come in and turn the ball over 3 straight possessions. 3 straight possessions, he came in, he turned the damn ball over because they knew what he was going to do. And I don't know if he was intimidated, scared, or whatever. He was just dropping the ball, throwing the ball to the wrong team, pick sixes. Like, what was going on? That could happen at Tennessee State if they don't get out and score points early. They scored 19 points in the first quarter of this game. But then in the second quarters, when they kind of got outplayed, they got to be able to score points early because we know Jackson State is. That's the thing we know about this JSU offense. Do I expect them to go out and score 59 points every week? No. But what I do expect, the fact that they were able to do what they did to FAMU, like they didn't just do what they did against some garbage cupcake team. They did what they did against FAMU. Like FAMU was picked to finish second in the conference, picked as a top 3 power ranking HBCU over Tennessee State, over others. And they went out and dropped 59 on a head top in their backyard in Miami. This game's in Memphis. This is in Tennessee State's backyard. You got to come out and score early because that's one thing about Prime, Coach Prime. He don't take his foot off the gas for nobody now. Willie Simmons is his friend. And he was throwing the ball up 40 points. Coach Eddie George is his friend. He'll be throwing the ball up 40 points. They don't want to run the ball in Jackson. They don't want to run it too much. They had running backs. They were averaging 5 yards a carry, and neither one of them got over 10 carries. They don't want to run the ball. They want to score a bunch of points through the air. And your special teams better be right, too. TSU special teams better be right. Because we didn't even see Jackson State get any kick returns. We barely saw them be able to return punt returns. That's a weapon of their game that they still hadn't had to use yet. It's only been one game, but we know what Isaiah Bolton can do as a kick returner. He was an All-American kick returner. We know what Kevin Coleman can do returning punts. He was a 4-star prospect. We seen a glimpse of it. We seen a little flash of it in Orange Blossom Classic. So your special teams better be together. And Tennessee had some struggles with their special teams, missing extra points, missing, all kind of messed up on that kind of stuff. Man, I want this game to be competitive. And I think this game will be competitive simply because I have a lot of faith in Draylen Ellis. I think Draylen Ellis is a special kind of kid. I think Draylen Ellis is the type of player that can end up playing on Sundays. I think Draylen Ellis is that talented. I think Draylen Ellis is that special. The problem is I'm scared because I saw what Jackson State did to FAMU. I saw what they did to FAMU. Like I watched it with my own damn eyes. Like I couldn't believe it. I saw what they did to FAMU, and I saw the weaknesses of Tennessee State against Eastern Washington. The offensive line pass blocking was a weakness at times. The secondary was a glaring weakness. It was a glaring weakness. Pass blocking against JSU's pass rush, that can't be a weakness. Your secondary against JSU's receivers, it can't be a weakness. And I saw the quarterback for Eastern Washington have all day to throw the ball. I saw him throw for 350 yards and 5 touchdowns. That's a weakness. And you're playing Shedeur Sanders. You're playing Shedeur, who's trying to be a top NFL draft pick. He's not trying to go on day 2. He's trying to be a day 1 high round, first round pick. So that means carving up Tennessee State and having that on tape because you're a good team. And he understands that. That doesn't bode well. That doesn't bode well for me. I'm trying to breathe because I want this game to be good. And Tennessee State has the talent to make this a good game. They have to find a way to get pressure on Shedeur. They have to play better in the back half of the secondary. And they have to protect the quarterback. They have to protect Draylen Ellis. They blocked the hell out of some run blocking schemes. But the pass blocking has to be better. It has to. It has to. They have no other choice. It has to. Or it's going to be a long day in Memphis. It is going to be a long day in Memphis. For JSU, excuse me, it's do what you've been doing. Is can you duplicate what you showed me Sunday in Miami? Can you duplicate on Saturday in Memphis? Can you have that great of a game plan? Can you coach that well again? Can Shedeur play that well again? Can that pass rush show up that well again? Can the offensive line protect that well again? Can the running backs run that hard again, averaging 5 yards a carry? Can the receivers get that open again? And they got away with some push-offs too. But can they continue to get open? That's the mysterious question. Can you repeat that type of performance? That's the only question for JSU because you had a perfect performance. Gave up 3 points to the 3rd best HBCU football team in the country preseason. The 3rd HBCU football team coming into the week 1 preseason. So can you duplicate that performance? That's the ultimate question. That's the only question. Tennessee State, can you shore up those things? Because if you can't, it's going to be a long day in Memphis. It's going to be one hell of a way to close out the Southern Heritage Classic if you can't get those things right. If your O-line can't protect Ellis, if your secondary doesn't get right, because Shedeur is going to carve them, and if you can't get any type of push up front, it's going to be a long day in Memphis if you can't. But if you're able to do that, we're looking at ourselves a ball game. What's my prediction? Okay, I got to get a prediction because I've been stalling long enough because I'm really rooting for Tennessee State. I really like some of the guys that got over there, and I think they're gonna have a really good season. I think this is a good football team. I think they're gonna have a good season. I just don't like their weaknesses so far because their weaknesses in this game. I don't like their weaknesses in this game because their weaknesses play to the JSU strengths. JSU's strongest thing on their team is their quarterback. And Tennessee State's weakest part of their team, at least they showed in game 1, is the secondary. And we watched the JSU quarterback in that offensive line protect him like crazy against the best pass rusher in the country in Isaiah Land. He did get a sack, but that was about it. He didn't disrupt. He didn't disrupt anything. You know what I'm saying? He didn't make no. He did get a sack. I'm not gonna take away. He did get one sack. They got one touch on Shedeur. That was it. And Tennessee State got one touch on a young man from Eastern Washington. That was it. And that's not good. It's not gonna be good enough. My prediction, man. I don't like the TSU secondary, man. I think it's gonna be a long day for them. I think JSU wins this game 42-21. I'm giving them a lot of points. This is me trying to be objective here. I'm trying to be objective, but I think with that secondary and that lack of a pass rush, Shedeur Sanders is gonna have another ball game. I think he's gonna have another 4-touchdown performance. I'm not saying he's gonna go 17-17 to start the game. I'm not saying he's going to go out there and throw 29 completions and only 4 incompletions, but I think he's going to have another 4-touchdown performance simply because of the lack of pass rush from TSU I saw in week 1 and the lack of the play in the secondary. 42-21 is my prediction. Leave your prediction of the game in the comments down below. Once again, my name is JeffLightsYJr with the Black Boss channel and Victory Formation. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hit that thumbs up button, like, share, and subscribe. Also, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at JLightsy7, Instagram and Twitter at JLightsy7. 42-21, JSU will take this one home. I'm giving them 21 points. I might regret that come Sunday. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hit that thumbs up button on your way out. I will see you next time. Peace.